What's up, everybody? My name's Thomas, and today I've got something a little interesting for you. I'm going to be interviewing the Vice President of Engineering with SpotOn, Sung Vivathana. Hopefully, I won't mangle his name too badly when we get on there, but he is the Vice President of Engineering at SpotOn Fence, and I think that with all the questions I get, concerning the SpotOn collar, its GPS capabilities, the universal cell, especially with the new Omni edition, how the antenna work, the various intricacies of the tech side of things. I like I said, I get a lot of questions about that. I think I thought it'd be interesting to interview this guy who will be able to give us all of this information and break it down in a way that I probably cannot do. So, worked it out. This is my first ever interview. I will probably look ridiculous. I don't know. We probably all think that, but we're going to do it anyway because why not? Anyway, I look forward to doing the interview, and hopefully we all glean a little bit of information and maybe get a glimpse into what's coming up or what's on the horizon with SpotOn GPS fencing. They've got the two fantastic collars that I have right now, the previous generation and the Omni. And I can imagine that things probably will only get better from here. With all of that being said, I'd like to welcome Sung Vivathana to our channel. This guy has had a fairly illustrious career in the engineering department. He's worked at Tech Resources, Tyco Telecommunications. He's had stints with Vicor Corporation, Scientific Solution, L3 Technologies, Optics One, all of that before 2015 when he became the Director of Engineering at SpotOn. Then in 2019, he became the Vice President of Engineering at SpotOn. So I think this guy has a lot of information to offer, especially those of you who are kind of on the fence, no pun intended, with the SpotOn. So let's check it out. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Thomas, nice to meet you.
You as well. There you are. I'm sorry about the delay. My internet's being a little funky this morning.
Oh, it's okay.
Before I get started, Vivathana, am I mangling your name?
No, that's correct. Vivathana is the correct pronunciation.
Good deal. All right, I was a little worried about that. So I appreciate you coming on with us, and this is kind of my first foray into the whole interview thing, so I'm just going to start off with letting you talk about yourself. Tell us about yourself and, how you found yourself at SpotOn.
Sure. My name is Sung Vivathana. I'm the Vice President of Engineering at SpotOn Fence. I have a degree in electrical engineering and a master's degree in business, an MBA as well. And how we came about at SpotOn is pretty interesting. In 2007, I worked for our current investor owner of the company. He had a previous business in the defense space. So I designed a lot of night vision goggles, thermal visioning goggles, and other types of defense equipment. And 2010, he sold the company to a larger defense company, and a couple of years after that, I kind of left the company and went on to do my own thing. And then back in 2015, the same owner investor called me and asked me if I wanted to get back together and do something kind of cool. And my answer was absolutely. That would be fun to do. So that's how it started back in 2015. And 9 years later, we're still doing some great things, and looking forward to many more years.
Yeah, I served in the Marine Corps between 2000 and 2008, and I remember doing several field ops with night vision goggles, and those things are always fun to play with. But I think you were there a little after my time, so I didn't get to experience any of that. But how did you apply your previous work to what you're doing at SpotOn now?
Before I answer that, I just wanted to say thank you for serving our country, Thomas. Really appreciate it. So the previous work, and one of the big products I worked on was kind of navigation devices that were able to tell you where buildings, objects were in a really accurate way. And so that involved the GPS, that involved range finding, lasers, and whatnot. And so my previous experience with GPS systems really was what I brought to SpotOn Fence. And having that knowledge and capability and experience, that was one of the first things that I instrumented once when we first started in 2015 was what can we do to really replace a physical fence? Like if we're going to be a fencing company to protect dogs, we want to be as accurate as possible. And my mission was to be as accurate as a physical fence.
Just looking, I've done a lot of these different collars now, and I own 2 of the SpotOn's, and they are by far the most accurate. And that includes comparing them to the Halo 3, which I imagine is y'all's biggest competitor. Can you explain exactly how the SpotOn creates a virtual fence and to that degree of accuracy?
Absolutely, Thomas. So one of the things that we wanted to do to separate ourselves from potential like the early products in the space, they weren't really containment systems; they were kind of trackers. So the component selection of the SpotOn collar is very critical. And so if you look at the GPS antenna coupled with the GPS receiver, those are pretty top-notch, high-end components. The antenna, for example, has the highest sensitivity on the market. So it's a combination of those 2 things that really make our system the most accurate system out there. Not only that, but the receiver chosen at the time was capable of working with the 3 constellations. And what I mean by that is everybody knows GPS, right? Everywhere you go, your phone, GPS is what everybody knows. But what most people don't know is that there are 3 other constellations out there, one called Galileo, one called GLONASS, and one called Beidou. So the more satellites you have in view, the better the accuracy. So at that point in time, there are no products in the space that would track more than one system. So ours tracks all of them at the same time. So the more visibility to satellites you have, the better the accuracy and the better the performance in challenging environments.
Well, speaking of visibility, I have a heavy tree canopy out back, and that messes with all of the other collars, but it does not mess with the SpotOn, which obviously SpotOn has forest mode. How does that work exactly?
So one of the things we wanted to accomplish was to be able to let the dog inside and outside of a home. So if somebody decided to build a fence line around their home, we wanted the dog to be able to enter safely without having to take the collar off. So we implemented some algorithms using what we call inertial motion sensors. So we combined light signals with motion sensors to really dial in the accuracy. And so in order to let the dog in safely, we have these set of algorithms. And what we're able to do is detect whether it's actually a house that the dog is entering, or if it's thick canopy, a lot of trees, or if you're under a lot of, like flat leaf trees and whatnot. So with our algorithms, we're able to detect whether it's a house or a tree. And when we detect thick canopy or a dog in the forest, then we basically increase the sensitivity of the system so that the dog is able to maintain, or the collar is able to maintain the containment or the fence line. So that's how we do that in terms of figuring out whether it's a bunch of trees or an actual structure like a home.
And that's similar to how your keep out zone works as well.
So it can work with the keep out zones in that manner, but the keep out zones really, and one of the things that's really unique about our system compared to, say, our competition, is we have these keep out zones where you could actually build a zone within a zone, or a fence within a fence, if you will. And so if you have 5 acres, right, that your dog can roam around it, and you have these ponds or marshes or bushes you don't want them to be in, you can create a keep out zone around those areas. And the collar behaves the same way when they approach that boundary or that keep out zone. It'll start alerting them to the cue or to the tones to say, that's not a good idea to enter that space. So that's really one of the big unique features that separates us from the competition, is being able to have fences within fences, and that's due to our patented algorithms.
It does, and I mean, some of the other stuff that I've used, you have to have a separate component entirely to create a sort of keep out zone. And like I said, I've got 2 of the SpotOn collars, and they're very efficient when it comes to that. How does the tracking system work?
So what's great about the tracking portion of the system is, obviously, if your dog somehow, we know that at certain times, certain points, if that dog wants to chase after that deer, it will cross the line. And so if that happens, the collar knows it. And that as soon as the dog crosses that fence line, the collar starts sending location data out to our servers and to your phone, so that you can visibly see exactly where your dog is. And so how does it do that? So we know that our collar, the SpotOn collar, has our own internal built-in GPS system, or GNSS system, that uses all 4 constellations. So we can track that dog with high accuracy. And the way that information gets sent to our servers, the cloud servers, and ultimately to your phone, is through what's called LTE-M, or basically the whole Internet of Things. So it's basically a phone connection that works on either Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, whatever signals available in your area or in the area of the collar at the time. And that's how data gets sent. So the data of the location of the dog, the speed, heading, all that good stuff gets sent over the cellular networks and ultimately to your phone. So you could go track down your dog.
Like, I've played with these things here for several months, and a lot of the more unique features of the SpotOn are what interests me. Can you tell us some of what those are?
Sure. Like I mentioned, the keep out zones is huge, right? People always, they have parts of their property where they don't want their dogs to wander. So that's a big feature. There's what's called a, kind of callback or recall feature. So if you do have 5-10 acres and you don't have line of sight of your dog, you could call your dog back by pressing a button on the app that sends a whistle or a call back and that cues your dog to come back home. Those are two big things. Another thing which, it really gets lost out there is, okay, say you don't have 5-10 acres and you have a half acre or between a half acre and 1 acre, and every square foot of your property, means a lot to you, and you want to, allow your dog to roam in every square foot. A lot of the other products out there, the competition, you could only just draw the fence on your mobile app, and that's not accurate because you're now guessing where that fence post lands, and the satellite image may not be up to date. So there's a lot of error and offset with that. With ours, you could actually walk it, and as you walk your fence, you can walk like curves in certain areas where you want exactly where that fence line to be. So exactly where it's going to land because you're walking it as the system is learning. So that's the big, one of the big differentiators is that we collect a fence post as you walk every second. So now you have 1 second resolution, which maybe turns into like 2-3 feet of resolution of that fence. So you could build curves, you could build all sorts of shapes, whereas with the competition, you could only put down so many fence posts, where we can have several hundreds if you wish to walk that far. So that's the big one of the big differentiators with our product.
Like I said, I've got 2 of these things now. One of the questions I get a lot is people confusing, Gen 1, Gen 2s. And instead, it's more like my first SpotOn collar was just a SpotOn collar. It didn't have any name associated with it. The second one was the Omni. Now, is the Omni like a Generation 2 thing, or is it just a software upgrade?
Omni is really considered we call it Gen 2 Plus. We added some key features with the Gen 2 Plus Omni. And the Omni is key there. So instead of just being working on one carrier, as I mentioned earlier, the way that the collar communicates to your phone is through the cellular network. Previously, with just Gen 2, we offered either a Verizon or an AT&T collar, and people usually don't know what they have in their area, so they're kind of guessing. With the Omni, it works with the three major carriers: Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and it will self-detect and attach to whatever the strongest signal is. So you don't have to worry about it. You know that you're covered by the three major carriers. And that gives people more peace of mind that they can communicate with their collar and know that they can go find their dog if they need to. The other benefits and enhancements with Gen 2 Plus is we reduce the power consumption by changing out some of the hardware, some of the components. And so I think one of the benefits and differentiators for us is we've gained more runtime. So you may not have to charge your collar every day. You could get now up to 24, 25 hours of runtime. And so that's the other major benefit. So connectivity and more time for your dog to run free. So we're very happy about it and excited about it.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm assuming that the cell thing is a SIM card issue, so it's not like you could just get an update and catch the old version up to that.
That's correct, Thomas. It is a hardware update, so it's a new SIM card that we put in there.
Okay, and I do like how just something is as much hardware and software as y'all got packed into these things. It's the little satellite sits up at the top on top of the dog's neck, and I like how it's just a simple matter of gravity. The way y'all design this collar, just it slides right around and it always stays on top.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That's another key differentiator is the placement of that antenna. If you look at some of the Halo product, that antenna is buried under the dog's neck. So now the signal has to travel through the dog and whatnot. What we've done is, to achieve that accuracy is, we need to be able to place that antenna so that it faces the sky and has direct view. We want least amount of things blocking that antenna. So the other benefit and the other feature and the other differentiator is that our antenna sits at the top, as you mentioned, of the dog's neck and has, the best visibility possible of the sky.
Yeah, I do like that feature, and I think I really feel like it makes a difference, especially in comparing them with some of these other collars that I reviewed. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here. Are there any future developments or projects going on that you'd like to talk about?
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. It's been a great discussion. So yes, we are working on new technology, new products. This flagship product of ours, we wanted to continue to make improvements. There's always new components, always new hardware coming out that's lower power and smaller, and we want to, take advantage of that. So we're constantly looking at new technology, new pieces to put in our flagship product. So we are, working on newer products that will be much more enhanced. And based on all of our learning and feedback from our customers and folks like yourself, we're listening and we're putting that into our next version. So we're super excited about, all the feedback that we get from our customers. And, we want to, please and satisfy as many of them as possible. And so we're building what we think is going to be the next best thing.
I'm excited to see what comes out next because I love the two SpotOn collars I have, even though one is a previous generation. They're both fantastic, and whether I'm reviewing something or not, just when I'm not on the camera, my dogs are wearing SpotOn. So putting these two collars on my dogs and taking them out and just going places with them, I've been able to consistently stick with them, track them, and throw up a fence and contain them because I have property up in Tennessee. We've got property in different areas here in Florida, and everywhere I go, it has always been consistent. I can't say the same thing about any of the other collars that I've tested so far. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what y'all have next.
Well, that's great to hear. So happy that you're having great experience, Thomas, with our product, and that's the one thing that drives us to do more and do better is to hear people like yourself, to be able to go places with your dogs and know that you have that peace of mind, once you put our collar on them, and that they could you let them go and run out. We do the same with our dog. We just put the collar on. He knows, he goes out, goes and runs around, and when he's tired, he'll come back. And it's just that peace of mind, that allows him to go out and get some exercise, go explore and be, curious, because that's what dogs are naturally like to do, is be outside and be curious.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think that's one of the things too that's a lot of people don't realize is that SpotOn offers the containment features without having to pay for a subscription. So you get that peace of mind. And obviously, if you want to track your dog, y'all have a very simple subscription tier. And some of these other ones are very convoluted. So I also appreciate that as well. But thank you very much again for coming on, Mr. Vivathana. And look forward to seeing what y'all come up with next.
Well, thank you for having me, Thomas. Appreciate it, and glad I got to speak to you. And so I thank you for using our product and being a great customer.
Well, I'll continue to give heap accolades on it. So,
all right. Well, thank you very much.
Have a good one.
You too.
Well, there you have it, folks. I tried to cover some of the various ins and outs, mostly stuff that I get, like comments, questions, and concerns that I always talk about at the end of every video. Speaking of which, comments, questions, and concerns, please throw them out there. I like to read them. I always try to make time for them. But in fact, those comments, those questions, those concerns that my viewers have are the things that I tried to focus on throughout most of the interview, especially there at the end, differentiating between the Omni and the previous generation, things about the antenna, the cell connectivity, and how all that integrates and works. I think it's important information to know. I tried to cover all the bases with it. Hopefully you're going to come away with this with a lot more information about the SpotOn GPS collar. And as you could probably clearly see throughout the interview, I absolutely love our SpotOn collars. Remember to like and subscribe. Hopefully we've got some more of these interviews, even though they're a little intimidating because, this is early phases in my career as far as, interviewing people. But hopefully we've got a lot more in the future. And those likes and subscriptions will help us continue to do that and continue to bring you the best information out there and products that I put in my hands, have experience with, and I can actually review without reading all about it on a website and pretending like I know. Thank you, everybody, for watching the interview. Be sure to check out SpotOn GPS Fence website. Appreciate everybody watching, and have a fantastic day.